Nestled in a park-like setting of Coquitlam, British Columbia, lies Riverview Hospital. Once a center for mental health treatment, it has become a focal point for urban exploration, ghost stories, and a bustling movie industry. Today, the sprawling grounds stand mostly vacant, with many of its iconic buildings still standing, some in better condition than others. Welcome to Riverview Hospital, a journey into its history, challenges, and the unknown. In 1876, the Royal Hospital in Victoria was converted to British Columbia's first facility to house mentally ill patients. Due to overcrowding, Royal Hospital was closed, and in 1878, the patients moved to the new Provincial Lunatic Asylum in New Westminster, later renamed Provincial Hospital for the Insane, then Woodlands in 1950. Facing problems of overcrowding at the turn of the century, in 1904, 1,000 acres of land in Coquitlam were transformed into a psychiatric hospital by the province of British Columbia, half of which included the adjacent colony farmlands. Because mental illness was not well understood at the time, and little could be done to treat patients, the emphasis was on safe care in peaceful surroundings. Under the direction of Medical Superintendent Dr. Charles E. Daughtry, treatment would include healthy food, recreation, work, and a normal routine. The new facility in Coquitlam was intended to provide the most up-to-date treatment for mental illness available at the time and relieve the overcrowding at Woodlands. Hydrotherapy and massage were used to calm the most disturbed patients, replacing harsher treatments of restraint used in the past with leg irons and straitjackets. Construction of a temporary hospital began at the Riverview property in 1909. In 1911, British Columbia's first provincial botanist, John Davidson, established an arboretum, a nursery, and a botanical garden on the hospital lands, often with the assistance of patients due to its therapeutic value. At the same time, Colony Farm was thriving. Built and operated with the help of patient labor, it was thought that agricultural work was a form of therapy to treat mental illness and would prepare the patients to obtain work upon discharge of the institution. The farm was considered to be the best in Western Canada. At the Dominion Fair in Regina in July 1911, Colony Farm won more than 20 prizes, a tradition that would continue into the 1980s with multiple awards at the Pacific National Exhibition's annual agricultural competitions. On April 1, 1913, the new hospital opened its doors. Originally called the Hospital for the Mind at Mount Coquitlam, the reference to Mount Coquitlam was confusing for mail delivery, so it was named Essendale Hospital, after Dr. Henry Essen Young, for the next half-century. 300 mentally ill male patients were admitted. The building was constructed to hold 480 patients, but by the end of the year, it housed 919. Called the Male Chronic Unit, this building later became known as West Lawn. With the overcrowding of West Lawn, in 1916, Medical Superintendent Dr. J.G. McKay urged the government to build a new acute unit to house at least 150 patients. It would be another 8 years before Essendale's second building would open. In 1924, the acute psychopathic unit, later called Center Lawn, opened. Due to the remoteness of Coquitlam at the time, a small community was built to house hospital staff, and by 1927, this area became known as the Community of Essendale, which included shops, a school, and a fire hall. While the opening of Center Lawn eased crowding at Essendale, there was considerable overcrowding at the women's department at the Public Hospital for the Insane in New Westminster. Planning began on a permanent building for female patients at Essendale. The opening of the Female Chronic Unit, later renamed East Lawn, in October 1930 marked the first appearance of a female patient at the hospital. The transfer of 500 patients to the new facility alleviated overcrowding at New Westminster. The Veterans Unit originally opened in 1934 as a treatment center for First World War vets. With the admission of many more vets after the Second World War, a new building opened at Colony Farm named Riverside. After the vets transferred to the new unit, the Veterans Block expanded and reopened as the Crease Clinic of Psychological Medicine, which was considered to be one of the finest facilities of its kind, operating independently from Essendale until 1965. Finally, in 1955, the tuberculosis unit, later called North Lawn, opened, marking the peak of patient residents. The surge in patient admissions was driven by traumatized post-war soldiers, which saw a peak population of approximately 4,700 resident patients. A new provincial Mental Health Act was passed in 1964 and came into force April 1, 1965, amalgamating the Crease Clinic and Essendale Hospital under the new name Riverview Hospital. 3 years after the publication of the Mental Health Act, a decision had been made to downsize Riverview Hospital. With the introduction of antipsychotic medication and the development of psychiatric units in regional hospitals, as well as a move toward outpatient care, it was intended to have mental health care be as readily available to the population as that of physical health. Regional clinics began drawing patients from Riverview, as both advances in treatment and eventual cutbacks in funding resulted in fewer people receiving mental health care province-wide. In 1983, West Lawn closed, and farming operations at Colony Farm were discontinued. The following year, the provincial government sold 141 acres of Riverview land to Molnar Developments. Shortly afterwards, this land was subdivided and became Riverview Heights, with about 250 single-family homes. By 1990, the decision had been officially made to reduce Riverview to a 358-bed facility, leading to the closure of the Crease Clinic in 1992. In 2005, the East Lawn building closed, followed by the North Lawn building in 2007, and in 2012, the last patients were moved from Center Lawn and Riverview Hospital was closed. 8,000 of the yearly emergency admissions to Vancouver's mental health facilities were people with both drug addictions and mental illnesses. The reason stated in this article, Between Madhouse to Flophouse, by Terry Gold, that Port Coquitlam's Riverview Hospital is being emptied and the sick are being thrown to the coyotes. Ex-patients of Riverview were often left without help or financial aid, which caused them to flock toward the downtown east side of Vancouver. While it's true that over the next few years, Vancouver's homeless population more than doubled, how much was due to Riverview closing rather than, say, population growth and the city's multiple real estate crises is difficult to say. But Gold's statement was widely shared. Outpatient care placed more people with mental illness issues in communities where they could fall through the cracks. With the closure of Riverview, the segue from mental hospital to movie set began. The iconic buildings proved to be extremely popular with television and movie productions. It is the most popular filming location in Canada outside of a studio, with as many as 5 productions using the hospital grounds at the same time. Films like Happy Gilmore, Watchmen, Butterfly Effect, and Deadpool have used Riverview as a filming location, while TV shows like Supernatural, Fringe, Riverdale, and X-Files have repeatedly used the hospital and its grounds for filming. IMDb lists 185 movie and television productions at Riverview Hospital. With its decaying buildings awash in negative energy and riddled with ghosts, crew members and security guards report seeing shadow figures, apparitions of former patients and staff, a phantom dog, strange lights, and objects moving on their own. Some hear disembodied footsteps and voices, doors and windows banging, and patients' bells ringing in empty wards. With this perceived paranormal activity, many urban explorers flocked to the old West Lawn building that was condemned in 1983, rotting from the inside out and riddled with asbestos. Entrance to the building is strictly forbidden, but some that have been inside claim to have felt touched, poked, or like they're being watched. Coquitlam First Nations, asserting its indigenous rights and titles over land that is within its traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory, filed a land title claim with the Supreme Court of British Columbia. As an act of reconciliation, it was decided that Riverview should formally be given a traditional name, and in 2021, the province of BC officially named Riverview Zamiliquela.